Natural gas prices in Europe have absolutely exploded in 2022, and we may just be starting to see the impact of those price increases. Let's get into what's going on and what the impact is going to be over the next 6 months. Here you can see data from Trading Economics, which shows just how quickly prices have increased. You can see here UK gas up 212% over the last year. TTF, which is a Dutch price, up 317%. So you can see that chart here. This is how quickly things have changed in Europe. This is priced euros per megawatt hour. A little over 5 euros in mid 2020. This was during the heart of the pandemic. So not surprising that demand was pretty low and prices were low as a result. But prices have been increasing as the economic activity has picked up as well. And then you throw in Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Russia's basic retaliation on Europe by shutting off oil and gas supply. And you see this huge jump in prices, up about 10x from last year. Now, you can imagine the impact this would have on an economy. We're heading into the winter. If your normal natural gas cost is, let's say, 100 euros per month, and that 10x is to 1,000 euros per month, people are going to have to make some major changes in not only how they're living their lives, but how they're spending their money. We have only just now started to see that impact, and I think there's going to be some cascading effects. There are some interesting downstream impacts on the US as well. I want to take a quick second to thank this video's sponsor, The Motley Fool. Go to fool.com/Rive to get their top 10 stock picks to buy right now. You can see here that natural gas prices are up about 4x from where they were in most of 2020. Now, the impact isn't nearly as dramatic because natural gas is primarily a local market, but there is exporting from the US to countries like Japan and certain places in Europe. So there is a bit of an arbitrage that companies like Cheniere Energy can do by buying low-priced natural gas here and then exporting it to places where it's a little bit more expensive. Countries are actually trying to rapidly increase the rate at which we can export natural gas and sell into markets in Europe, but it's just takes a really long time for that infrastructure to be built out. So this is not a market that operates like oil, where the commodity itself is kind of fungible no matter where you are in the world. But you do see that there is an impact in the US. So there is higher prices here. That is at least in part because of the higher prices that we're seeing in Europe. And as long as prices are high in Europe, I wouldn't be surprised to see prices remain at least a little bit elevated here in the US as well. What I think investors really need to think about is the downstream impacts of these high energy costs in Europe. The European economy is a very big piece of the global economy. And if demand for goods and services declines because people are simply spending more money on natural gas and energy costs, that's going to have a big impact on growth outside of the energy sector. We could see cutbacks on tech spending, on travel, on non-essential goods. And frankly, there could be a global recession that results from the impact of European spending changes over the next year or so. So this is something that I think we really need to keep an eye on. As the weather gets a little bit colder in Europe over the next few months, we will have to see how prices are impacted. You can see here that prices have come down from their peak. So that's potentially good news. If that continues, I would see that generally as a good sign. But European energy prices might not be on your radar. And right now, I think they actually should be if you're an investor.